I was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I grew up on the coast of Maine, in Camden. My father was a general practitioner and my mom was a pediatric nurse. They practiced medicine together for 30+ years. I've got plenty of family members in medicine. From cousins, first cousins, to my brother who does cancer research for Dundee University over in Scotland. I like to work with my hands. I don't think they necessarily influenced me on that regard, but they've always been supporters in the choices that I do, and a little bit of influential on the things I've chosen. My dad worked a lot with his hands, and vice versa. That's sort of the calling, I guess. Growing up in a small coastal community, tourist town like Camden, lots of restaurants like this area, plenty of summer jobs to get into. I mean, my first cooking job was at the Canada Harbour Inn. That was in 1986. I graduated from the Culinary Institute in 1999 in Hyde Park. Well, I did a traditional BA like everybody else. It always seemed to come full circle in that regard. I'd always come back to cooking. I played in the kitchen as a kid. It just ended up, when I graduated I went to school in Atlantic Canada. I also did 1 year at University of Maine at Farmington. Ended up graduating with a BA in political science and a minor in social history. And then I ended up cooking for 2.5 years, or actually it was 2 years. And then after the 2 years, I said, I'm going to fork the money over and go to the Culinary Institute. I've done a series of tours of small luxury hotels. I like small luxury inns and hotels. It's the dining rooms, it's the kitchens that attract me. In this particular place, and like many of the other inns that I've worked at, there's a certain element or appeal to it. It's like being at home, and it's like cooking at home in some ways, because your guests stay multiple nights, they stay one night. I think by doing that versus a restaurant, it kind of provides them, it places them at ease. It makes them feel like they're at home or away from home. I don't think some restaurants really don't cater to that. They get kind of sterile in some ways. But it's the changing nature of the day. It's not every day is the same. Basically, it's the people, it's the food, it's it's the organized chaos more than anything else. I think that pretty much what attracts me to it. The surprising thing is watching, former line cooks grow into chefs, and former, line cooks that were not so skilled end up being really, really great cooks. I mean, the difference between this industry and most industries nowadays is this still has an old world charm to it. You still have that apprenticeship, mentorship relationship with people. I don't think you don't really see it as much anymore. Oh, that one's easy, is going to the Beard House in the summer of 2000 with Lumiere Restaurant. It's just a phenomenal experience to be there. You do about 130 people, 120, between 125 and 130, and you've been recognized or nationally recognized to be, to attend something like that. And that was a lot of hard work with the chef and my mentor that I worked with in Boston to get to that point, and to be there was phenomenal. After that we went out to dinner to Blue Ribbon, which is in the Village, and then we did an 8-course tasting lunch at Cafe Blue, who Michael had worked for, Daniel Blue, and actually the executive chef at the time, Andrew Carminelli, and Michael were both recognized as Best New Chefs by Food and Wine that summer. That's easy. I overcooked two Baron roasts of lamb, and this was my second season on Nantucket, and I ended up with the nickname Baron Von Cox the entire summer. So, I mean, there's a lot of kitchen disasters, but that one sticks in mind very much because Everett Reed, the chef that I'd worked for, and Everett had a quick mouth on him, and he had, his snappy comebacks were there, and it's just a constant barrage of, hey, Baron Von Cox, don't overcook that, don't do this. I don't place one ingredient higher than the other, probably, except bacon. Bacon. You can't go wrong with bacon. Whether it's by itself or whether it's in a dish like succotash or summertime items. I find smoky flavors kind of pull things and push things a little bit. It just adds a nice element to it. Donuts and cheap beer. Pretty simple. I love donuts, and most people criticize my beer choice, and it's just I don't have any problem with drinking cheap beer. I know when I was at the Bedford Village Inn, our pastry chef we do Sunday brunch. I change the menu every month, and it was a 3-course brunch menu, and the great thing about it was the pastry chefs and cooks made fresh donuts. A lot of stuff. I would probably go with pan-seared foie gras, something as simple as fish and chips on top with a New York strip steak that's black and blue with cream spinach and potatoes on it, right down to pan-fried sweetbreads and finished with ice cream. Like I said, it's the straightforward things, it's the simple things. That's the style of cooking that I like. On a local or on a Vermont scale, Hen of the Wood up in Waterbury, phenomenal. I had a meal there last year. I was actually interviewing for a position up in Stowe, and the general manager after the interview was like, "You should go try Hen of the Wood." So I drove down. He made a reservation for me. I drove down. I was blown away by it. And then, of course, in Boston, it would always be a Lumiere restaurant because it's just, for me, that's kind of home for me is just regarding a great working education with Michael. I had cable over the summer for the property I was working for, and I ended up watching a lot of Iron Chef. And if I'm around home, if I go see my mom, she has cable, so I end up watching. I'll probably watch Anthony Bourdain at times. I enjoy his sharp wit. Well, I think it's important to see what's going on in your town more so than, nationally. I think people get so sucked into watching things on a national basis that they forget about what's going on in their own community. There's plenty of characters in your own community that you don't need to pay attention to what's going on in LA or anything like that. And certainly probably on a cerebral level, I think there's probably more going on in your local community than there is the garbage that's going on in LA.